Sections of the periodic table. For this lesson, you will need colored pencils or crayons in 5 colors, your notes packet open to page 2, the periodic table given to you in class, and a pen or pencil for taking notes. The goal of this lesson is to color code the periodic table on page 2 of your notes according to the types of elements present. This will accomplish Objectives 9D. Use the periodic table to determine whether an element is a metal, nonmetal, or metalloid. And Objective 9E, identify the location of the transition metals, alkali metals, alkaline earth metals, halogens, and noble gases on the periodic table. You can go back later and color code your big periodic table if you choose, but most people decide not to do this. Remember that you can pause this video at any point if you need more time for your writing or coloring. Bring your notes packet with your color-coded periodic table with you to class tomorrow as evidence that you've completed the video lesson. Take a moment now to pause the video, gather the supplies you need, and in your yellow objectives packet, circle Objective 9D and 9E as an indication that those objectives have now been covered in class. You have already learned that a column on the periodic table is called a group or a family. There are 4 families that have names that are commonly used by chemists. The first column is referred to as the alkali metals. Although hydrogen is in this first column, it is not considered to be an alkali metal because it is a gas at room temperature. As you get deeper into your understanding of chemistry, you will understand why hydrogen was placed in the first column of the periodic table, even though it is a gas. The elements in the second column of the periodic table are called the alkaline earth metals. The elements in the first 2 columns of the periodic table are all very reactive and are not found as elements in nature. These 2 families of reactive metals occur naturally only bonded to other elements to form compounds. Next, we will jump to the other side of the periodic table to the set of elements in fluorine's column. These elements are called the halogens and include fluorine, chlorine, bromine, iodine, and astatine. The last column on the periodic table with a commonly used family name is the noble gases. The noble gases are located at the far right column of the periodic table. With a few rare exceptions, these elements do not form compounds. Some of the remaining families do have names but are not commonly used, so you do not need to know. Next, you are going to color code the little periodic table in your notes. Elements on the periodic table are classified into one of 5 categories. These categories include main group metals, nonmetals, metalloids, transition metals, and intertransition metals. Choose 5 colors and make a key similar to the one shown above. I will be using highlighters for mine because they look nice on screen, but you can choose any color of crayon or colored pencil you would like, or if you have 5 colors of highlighters, that will work too. You may want to pause this video while you make your key. First, you will color the elements that are considered to be main group metals. These include the alkali metals. Remember not to color code hydrogen because it is a gas, not a metal. The alkaline earth metals, and one element from the other side of the periodic table, aluminum. Aluminum is easy to remember because you are familiar with aluminum foil, which is clearly metallic in nature. Next, you will locate the nonmetals on the opposite side of the periodic table. Also go back and pick up hydrogen from the first column. This section is a little tricky to color, so go slowly and choose your elements carefully to match the ones that are colored green on your screen. The next set of elements has properties of both metals and nonmetals. They are called the metalloids and create a border for the nonmetals. Notice the dark blue staircase on your big periodic table. And I've drawn in this staircase on the little periodic table in your notes. With the exception of aluminum, the metals that touch this staircase are considered to be metalloids. Metalloids have the properties of both metals and nonmetals and are used to make things like semiconductors that allow us to use devices like cell phones and computers, and a lot of our other digital technology is dependent upon these metalloids. The next group of elements are metals, just like the first two columns, but have some special traits and get a special name designation. The transition metals are located in the shorter columns of the periodic table and in a little triangle right here that extends over underneath the metalloids. Most of the metals you are familiar with, such as silver, gold, copper, zinc, iron, and others, are transition metals and are found in the middle region of the periodic table. Lastly, we have the bottom two rows of elements, which are called inner transition metals, despite the fact that they are located outside of the main table. These elements belong in the empty spaces, right here, and have been removed from the periodic table simply to make the periodic table a more convenient size. There is one last term that you need to be familiar with when using the periodic table. Chemists use the term representative elements to refer to the elements in the tall columns of the periodic table. These are also referred to as the main group elements. And that's where we get the term main group metals. The main group metals are all the metals here in yellow that are part of the main group elements on the periodic table. This concludes your tour of the periodic table and types of elements. Bring your notes packet with you tomorrow as evidence that you have completed your video lesson.